Today we are going to make a produce bag. These are all the materials that I use to create one of these bad boys. Pretty good stuff. All upcycled materials that I've used. This was like an onion bag, so it's like those mesh bags that you get your vegetables in, and sometimes they have the little metal piece on the bottom holding the bottom together, and I essentially create a casing that goes around the top edge and then a drawstring to pull it through. So it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes you get variances with materials, like there'll be like cuts in the mesh, so you have to kind of like stitch it together. I'll post other examples of alternate versions, but I'm going to show you the basics of the easiest ones to do. Yeah, so the bag I have here is probably another old onion bag, and I knotted it at the end because it's pretty long. So it'll make a fairly large bag so it can keep its knot at the bottom, because it does take up a little material to do the knot on it. And this is a little hard to work with and see, doing the best that I can with the camera. But this isn't really like super even, the end of like the top end of this bag. So the first thing I would do is kind of like pull through to kind of get it flattened-ish, and then kind of look at the end and trim it. So I will take my big scissors here and trim it so it's even-ish. It's a little easier. Bless you, Frankie. My dog just sniffled. Yeah, so then we have that. So it's pretty easy, even. And these mesh bags also, depending on where they're from, some of these little holes that are here are smaller. So these I decided I was going to use about a 5mm hook with, because it easily goes through the mesh and should be easy to do a slip stitch across the top. And I have my Plarn here, so this has already been cut. This is pretty easy to do. Mine's all kind of different sizes. This is a little thinner. I don't know what I originally cut it at, probably like an inch or so. All of this is really flexible. It just kind of takes a little practice and time to get used to working with the materials. I like using, these are like, I think they're bamboo hooks. I got them on Amazon, unfortunately. But if there's any local woodworkers out there that want to create wooden hooks for plastic Plarn, that would be amazing. Yeah, so I've got this we'll do this color for the casing, and then the brown bag for the drawstring. The little hook is helpful in finishing, and kind of you'll see its use in the future. And then the lighter also kind of helps with just kind of like bits of ends of plastic. You have to be careful with it because you don't want to get it too hot and melt everything, but it is a nice finishing tool to have on hand. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is pretty simple, not a lot of specialty tools other than the crochet hooks. So yeah, let's get it started. All right, so first thing, create your slip knot to get your Plarn prepared. Get it on the hook there to kind of pull it up a bit. It's a little tight, not crazy tight, just enough. So we're gonna pull that off and then pick anywhere to start, because you're going in a circle, so it doesn't matter. And get your hook into your slip knot, kind of pull that through. So we're through the mesh. Now the Plarn is kind of coming from back here, and then I'm pretty much gonna work in probably like every other hole. I might do twice in a row. This is again like something that takes practice and time. If you skip a bunch of holes, it'll make it compressed. So it really determines like how big the opening is and how like in placement of the slip stitches. But I just go to the next available spot that I can kind of see and yarn over, pull through, and then that's the first slip stitch. And it's pretty boring. You just continue this on across the whole top. And again, it's not going to be super perfect at the top, so don't get like too worried about placement. It's kind of a general, you're making a line across the top, and we're going to be doing just a single crochet once we establish the chain. So chain, slip stitch, pretty much the same thing. We're just chaining into the mesh of the bag. So just keep on rocking that. I really enjoy doing these types of projects because they're freeform. I'm not super great at counting out things. I can make circles, so I know that I need to remember those patterns for that. But these are just a little, they're very freeform. They're definitely kind of putsy at first, especially if you are not used to crochet. I would recommend maybe getting some basics down with some yarn, some regular fiber. The Plarn is a little tricky, but the wood hooks help a lot. I used to use metal hooks and they would get stuck all the time in the plastic, and yeah, felt like I was getting carpal tunnel because of the, I like to call it taffy sometimes, the way that the plastic gets caught up in that hook. So we just kind of keep going here, and I'm hoping that this is showing up okay. This mesh is very tricky. We're just gonna go for it. It's really gonna like pull it up here so you can see it. So we're doing that chain. It's coming along. So that's where we started. It's coming along to here. And then let's just carefully kind of show. It's a little hard to do this. I need a third hand to like pull this back so it's not the rest of this back, so you can like actually see where I'm working in. It gets a little lost. Perhaps I will take some close-up photos to better show this. I'm just gonna keep continuing the chain. It's yarning over, pulling through. Maybe skip a couple every once in a while so it's not super wide. Again, this is really a lot of trial and error. All of these materials are gonna vary because they're all upcycled, so consistency is kind of a weird thing. And as you get used to working with Plarn, you start to see the patterns and how it works up. It's kind of cool. I've made so many of these little produce bags and people really enjoy them. I like making them. They're pretty easy to just put a show on and crank out, but I also want to make other things, so I want to encourage and teach other people how to make these themselves, because it's kind of a fun little neat project that you can do for yourself, and maybe friends and family if they are less crafty or motivated in these things. These make great little gifties. They're pretty fun. We're getting closer to the end. I'm just gonna keep chaining into the mesh of the bag here. We're getting close now. Getting close to where we started. Only gotta get this tail here, which we'll work in. So we've only got a couple of stitches left, really. So kind of manipulate this guy to kind of get it. Yeah, so we can start pulling it in. There we go. Catch it there. Whoops. Sometimes that happens. You don't get both of the strands of the Plarn through. You can slip the hook a little bit, and that's okay. You just go back and grab it. Whoops. See, I gotta like work it the other way so it gets caught in there. Kind of gotta go over the little strand and then maybe under it. Pull it through. So we went over, under. Okay, whoops. Yarn over, pull it through. That'll also work in with the single crochets that we're gonna do next. So we don't have to worry too much about this little tail there. He's gonna be all right. And now that we're back to the first slip stitch, this is the first guy, we're gonna put our hook in, and then we're gonna yarn over, pull it through, and connect. You made it around the circle. Super exciting. Yeah, so that's the basics. I used to just make these with the slip stitches and then create the casing, but I like adding the single crochet across because it adds a little, I feel like it's more sturdy. This stuff is pretty delicate. It can get accidentally cut or wear out over time. I have definitely patched little ones where there has been holes, which you can just do with more Plarn. It gives them like little stitches. It's kind of cute. So a little chain 1, 2 to get this single crochet, and instead of working in like you would on a chain, I'm just kind of working below it. So I'm still going into the mesh and not the chain. So it's kind of like we're surrounding the chain with the single crochet. So you kind of push, whoops, let's see if we can show that better. So we can see that I can kind of, and this is again, you do not have to be perfect about it. You will work through it and you'll kind of see what makes sense. Sometimes you're not going to be able to access those little spots, the little mesh parts, and that's okay. Then just skip one. So again, this is something that kind of takes practice. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I will try to get back to them. Yeah, just reach out if you have questions. I'm just hoping that this video can kind of give you the basic idea of how these are constructed. And if you are familiar with crochet, I think that you could probably pick it up pretty quickly. It's more for those novices that, you know, haven't been crocheting and maybe identifying stitches is hard for you. It was really hard for me for a really long time. It just takes practice like anything. So this one's kind of funny because we have like a little bit, these bags kind of busted when we looped. So they've got like these little ends, which we'll take care of later. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to keep single crocheting underneath the chain, slip stitch, you know, whatever you want to call it. Also, you can kind of like try to cheat and pull in things so then they get caught up in the next stitch. I don't know if it's cheating. It's more of like being effective with the fiber, right? I don't know. Whoa. That's funny. Let's back that out. What did I start doing? I was talking. Okay. Kind of got weird things where that's also why I love crochet, is being able to pull things out so quickly and easily. It's such a wonderful form to work in. I think I just needed to make sure I was getting my loops a little bit more aligned. Just kind of lean into one side. Yeah, so this is a little hinky. We're just gonna skip over and go there. Keep pulling it through. And we got got you another hinky spot. Just kind of like keep working with it. Yeah, they'll just go. After this, we will create the casing that lives on top of, for the drawstring to go into, that lives on top of the single crochets. That's the plan. Alrighty, moving right along here. So it's kind of where we've been at that single crochet roll. Yeah, it's almost halfway. It's only a little more to go. Like I said, I feel like these work up pretty quickly once you kind of get used to manipulating the mesh and what that means, and seeing it. I think the seeing it part is probably the hardest. I have noticed in previous workshops that I've run in the past, attendees will have, oops, see? Learning experience. I just busted that. So it's a little hard to see. I'm gonna pull it out, but now I have a bit of a hole. There's a hole in there because my hook busted it. That's what happened. So I think to kind of secure this, we're gonna improvise. We can probably go through here. Oops. What am I doing? Yeah. We're gonna feed it through there to a hook pull. Maybe. How do I want to do this? I'll fix it later. That's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna worry about it right now. We're gonna soldier on, and we will mend it later. It can always be repaired, especially if you're okay with things that look like they've been repaired. I'm okay with that. I think they're interesting. Whoop. Alright, pull it through on the next one. It's okay, it's just an opportunity to show you a little easy way to mend, although it's not really a huge hole, but I would worry about it getting larger. I don't want that to break down more. So I'm gonna keep an eye on it. And sometimes your stitches are gonna be a little wonky, and that's alright. You can kind of gently tug to pull and shape it a little bit more. That's a good method. And yeah, this one's got some extra. We had some extra like parts of the mesh kind of coming through, so you just kind of want to work around those and try not to get your hook caught in them. I really wish I could see better with my little camera display here, that hopefully this is going to be showing up well. And if it's good enough for now, we'll just let it roll. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, see, that's weird. Got some weird things happening here. I'm gonna pull it out again just to even it out. These can be as perfect or imperfect as you are okay with. Sometimes the knots in your Plarn can be a little big, and if you want to smooth that out, you can just kind of like push it on itself, kind of like try to slide it down so it flattens out a little bit and gets a little neater. It's really not a big deal. It just kind of creates a different aesthetic in terms of what the Plarn looks like when it's crocheted. If you've got like really big knots or like a lot of excessive stuff, it just has a different texture to it. It doesn't maybe look perhaps as neat as some would like it to, but again, I feel like a lot of this stuff is subjective. I'm all about functionality. I definitely like form, and I like to make things look as good as I can. But there's kind of a point of diminishing returns in that kind of logic, especially for an object that is, its purpose is to help us create less waste by using old waste. So yeah, try not to get too hung up about it. Okay, see, we got another kind of like larger bumpily knot, and we can kind of pull it a little bit. I don't have incredibly long nails. They're actually a little dirt under them from the gardening today, but that's okay because they're clean enough for making Plarn things. Yeah, and sometimes pulling through those knots is a little bit of an adventure. There's that tail we missed. We can kind of bring it in here a little bit more. Pull it through. Here. Pull it through. And so close to the end. Really close to the end. There's just like a little bit left. See? Actually, we'll do one more stitch. Just, yeah, there's about a stitch left. We'll work it in here. And then we'll connect it with a slip stitch at the top again. All right, pulling it through. Sweet. Let's pull that out of there for a minute. Kind of show you where it's at. Like I said, we can kind of take care of these a little bit later. But if you are so inclined, you could do this before the next step. It doesn't really matter. Just kind of show you, just kind of pull it through a little bit. We're gonna cut this. Okay, kind of get it. So then maybe it can get caught in another stitch. Maybe we won't have to trim it. Okay, so we have slip stitch. I'm gonna hook it back in there. Getting close to the end. That's all right. We're gonna use what we got. Chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4, chain 5. This is gonna create our first little drawstring area. And we're gonna move on to doing double crochet stitches. So I'm gonna skip 1, 2 stitches and then chain into the third. So 1, 2, 3, not chain in, we're gonna stitch into the third stitch with a double crochet, which is why I've got yarn over the hook. So through, yarn over and pull through. So now we have 3 loops on that hook. And we're gonna pull through 2 left, yarn over again, pull through 2, and we've made our first little gap. Boop-a-da-boop. And then we're gonna chain 1, 2, and then skip 2 again, 1, 2. Whoops, see, we found that guy. We're gonna try to leave him in there so I can scoop them up, and then do double crochet into the third stitch and finish that double crochet. So 1, 2 chains, and then 1, 2, third. Gonna go into the third stitch. That guy, you can see it a little bit closer maybe. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So pull that through. And then your double crochet. And then we just keep doing this. 2 chains, yarn over, find the third away from the current. So 1, 1, 2, 3. 3 loops, pull through the 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then third. Double crochet. Maybe I will have enough to get around here. 1, 2. So we do this all the way around. And sometimes it's even and sometimes it's not. So you might have like an end where there's maybe like less of a gap. And that's okay. Because again, these are functional. 2, running out. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over. This is a great opportunity to pause. So I'm running out, so I need to find more fiber. I think I have some white left. We'll see. I'll be back. All right, I found some more white. And to finish this off, so it's really easy to add Plarn. It's just like making it. You just feed it through the end loop. Pull it tight. Flatten it out a little bit. And you've got Plarn. More Plarn. All right. So this is the casing we've made so far. Super great. All right. So yeah, I think we got two stitches right here left. So this is actually very even. Sometimes you'll only have one or you'll be right up next to it. But we actually have 2. So we're gonna chain 1, 2, and then we're going to connect it to the first post we made from that chain of 5 we started with. Whoops. And back to the beginning. So we got all those. Look at that beautiful casing we just made. We're almost done. I like to have a bit of a tail to work in. So I'm just gonna back this knot out from my Plarn. You can just cut it too if you don't want to deal with this. Whatever is easiest for you. Pull it through, pull it through. We are done with you. So we just want to finish by pulling through the end strand so it'll knot it. And then we can weave it in. I use a smaller crochet hook to weave in my ends because that is what works for me. You just kind of pull through, find little areas to kind of hide it, pull it through, make sure it's secure in there. Keep working it through, and I probably will end up trimming this because it's a little long, but we can just do this for a minute. Keep working it through. All right, I'm gonna call that good enough. I like to kind of like go up a post to work it in. Extra good. Pull that through there. And one more time for good measure. Actually, I lied. Now it's the final one. I'm gonna pull through here. And then what I'm gonna do kind of give it a little pull. Gonna cut it, give it a little snip while not snipping the actual crochet, and it's a very little bit of an end. So this is kind of where the lighter comes in to give it a little melty, very carefully. So I feel like that's probably a good way to show it. It's hard to do this from above. Don't get it too close, you can feel the heat. And then it just kind of melted. So we'll do the same. This guy, just gotta get it in there. It's a little more hidden. Very carefully heat it up so it melts a little bit. Just kind of give it a little smoosh, smash. And the casing is done. Now it's time for drawstring, and those are real easy. So I like to have contrast, so I chose brown for my drawstring. All this really is a bunch of chains and then slip stitching on the chain, and that's how we make the drawstring. So again, I'm using my 5mm hook, did a slip knot to start it. I'll just kind of pull that on there, and then we're gonna chain until it's long enough. So you kind of just chain for a bit, and then see how long it gets. And once it's longer than the casing, you can turn your work and do the slip stitches to create the drawstring. So this goes pretty quick. It's just chaining. So, and again, no counting, because everything is unique and different, and there's just really not patterns for this. It's more of like a process than a pattern. And we are on the last part of the process. Hooray! Just want to check, fold it over, see how long it's getting. Not quite long enough. It's stopping short to about here. So we need some more. Okay, so we're past it. Two more for good measure. I think this should be long enough. You just need to be able to like weave it through with a little bit extra. It doesn't need to be crazy. And if it's a little extra long, also okay. So then we just slip stitch into the chain. So you don't go into the first, but the second one, yarn over and pull through. And then right to the next one. Yarn over and pull through. Into the stitch, pull through. Into the stitch, yarn over, pull through. And so it's kind of how that's shaping up. It makes this really nice cord. I really like how it looks, especially on the front side. But again, it's okay to have those little ends that stick out. You can just go through and gently use the lighter on them, carefully and gently use the lighter on them, and kind of flatten them out. And that works pretty good. And it's the drawstring, so it's gonna be kind of, some of it will be covered up sometimes. Again, function is the key. Does it work? Yes. All right, so close to the end. We're almost there. Those stitches were a little tighter. I would recommend working a little looser than I did, because I'm gonna need a hand stretch after this. Feeling a little crampy and getting that taffy feeling. Alright. Cool. Alright, we're pretty much on the last one. So I'm gonna work into that last stitch. Oh, we're at the end of a thing too. Okay. Pull you through. Excellent. And I'm gonna give this a little extra to work with so we can finish it after we weave it through the casing. So we'll give ourselves just a bit. Cut it, because it's not really close to a, so there was a connector there. So about that much extra. And just to hold things tight, I like to pull in this other tail into the loop that's on my hook, pull it through, and then take this long tail and pull it so that it tightens it so that it's knotted, secure. We've secured it. And this is a good opportunity to kind of trim a little extra plastic bits off and places that have little spoobies. Get rid of the spoobies, and we can do our little lighter trick very carefully. So, ooh, that wasn't super careful because I was looking at the calendar or the camera. But yeah, just kind of heat it up, get it to melt a little bit on itself, and then no more spoobies. Gone with the spoobies. That looks pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, there's the other one. Really minimal, but we can kind of make it happen. Okay, awesome. Oh, almost done, y'all. So, this doesn't really matter where you put it in. Start weaving it in. So we just kind of put it in here, and then just go under and over through the casing. Just keep weaving it around until you come back to the beginning. Circles are definitely a theme, round, working around and connecting things in this project. under, over, under, over. It's getting a little tight, so all you gotta do is kind of like pull it through. All right, so we're back at the beginning. We've made it all the way around. Back to where we started again. And yeah, so the final step is connecting the drawstring onto itself, which we can easily do with all this extra Plarn we have hanging around here. This is when the smaller hook comes in handy. This is a 3.5 millimeter. It's just easier to work into, especially because I crochet kind of tight sometimes, into these tighter stitches and start connecting it. So I just kind of get the hook through both of the ends of cord, and we'll grab this tail because it's real long and yarn over so we can pull a loop through, which it's gonna be a little bit. It might be a little hard to do it at first, but we have that loop pulled through and our tail here. I like to work in the other, if there is another tail available, I like to just kind of keep pulling that through like we did when we finished it. So I will pull that through, and now we've got like this kind of thing where we pull the long tail and it secures this extra tail, kind of binds it in there. This again is not exact. I just keep working my hook into the ends and pulling through loops to make like little crochet slip stitchy knots to secure it. And I did leave enough tail that we can kind of wrap it around as well, but I'm going to do a couple of these. Oh, it's really hard. It's on a knot. That's kind of a problem. There we go. Okay. And again, I'm just gonna, because I got so much of this extra tail, I'm gonna pull this through that other loop. So now we've got that same situation again. And I'm gonna pull it down. And it's knotted again. Just kind of. So this side is pretty secure. This side's still a little open, so I want to kind of focus on getting that a little more secure. So I kind of flip it so then I can work in here and in here. Kind of leave that in as I pull through. All right, and then I'll pull through, and then I will actually take the long tail, yarn over, and pull it through the loop and all the way through the loop. So then it's securing that side. So kind of like made little crochet knot stitches through the end. That feels pretty secure to me. What I'm gonna do before I finish is pull through this little tail and hide it in here so it'll be secure. Okay, it's at least laying flat. So since we have these ends, I like to just kind of like wrap them around the very end nubbin of the drawstring and just kind of tie it. So it's kind of like going around the edge there, kind of secure it, and then go back, tie it on the top. So again, we have extras. I can do it. Okay, gonna, that looks pretty good. Gonna double knot it. And remembering not to pull too tight because you will break the Plarn. It can only handle so much tension. And then I'm also just gonna pull in these little guys to the inside of the drawstring cord, the draw cord, string cord, whatever it is. And just poke it through. Kind of hide it again. And then I will kind of work on the inside. Just kind of go through here to pull this tail through. I'm gonna weave in this end a little bit and hide it, but I feel like it's pretty secure. Like, that's not gonna go anywhere. It's pretty good. So it's in here, and I'm just gonna weave it in, weave in the ends, and then probably snip it and heat it up a little bit so it gets a little melty, and then shouldn't move too much. So keep kind of using this hook, pull it through a couple of back sides of the stitches. One more, and I think we're gonna be good. Cool. That looks secure. Again, give it a little tug, get everything kind of stretched, and we'll snip that off. And carefully use my lighter again to get the little bit of edge. So if you can see that, there's like this guy. It's really minimal, but I like to melt it. Just don't light it on fire. That's not safe. Just gotta be careful. Yeah, just kind of captures it all. There's a little bit of, yeah, we'll get this guy too. Melt those guys. Melt them. Okay. And now we have our very own produce bag. Ta-da! Thank you. I hope that this worked for you. Just, you know, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. All right.